Welcome to the Pursuit of Growth show, where we hold candid conversations with fascinating individuals from all walks of life to learn about their passions, successes, failures, lessons learned, and how they apply personal growth to their lives. We'll end the conversation with key takeaways that we can all implement to better ourselves and the lives of those around us. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and good buddy, Sammy Gonzalez. What's up, Sammy?
Greg, everything is up. It is a great day. I think the fans that tune in are in for a special treat because we're going to do something just a little bit different this year. I think we've got something to celebrate. And I think we're going to look back over this past year. This is our 20th episode that we've had of this show, and the year 2020 was obviously a very weird year for everybody, and so what we wanted to do with this episode was we wanted to recap the past year, give people just some insight as to what we have going on, what we've done, everything about the LiveTPG show, about some of our favorite interviews, some of our favorite people that we've had, some favorite moments. I want to talk a little bit about the book, The Pursuit of Growth, which is propped up right over there. And then we want to talk a little bit more about the blog and some of the other work that we've done together. So with that, I think we have a lot to be thankful for. I want to share a lot of gratitude to everyone that's been listening and watching and sharing. And then we'll kind of run down the past year, have some memories, and have a drink. I think it's time to celebrate. I've got a little bit of a special elixir here with a little bourbon. I see you're drinking the wine tonight as well. So I think it is time to celebrate the small successes, right?
Absolutely. And, it's interesting to think that we published the book, I guess, gosh, it's been almost a year. I think it was right around the July 4th timeframe of 2020 that we put the book out. And then shortly after, we started getting the podcast up and running and the YouTube show. And, with 2020, with COVID-19, it was a major obstacle to figure out how to do this, how to implement it correctly, and then be able to get our guests to come on the show. And I've got to say, looking back, it's been such a joy and just an incredible experience to be able to have some of the conversations that we've had with some really remarkable people. So I'm really excited to talk about some of our favorite takeaways from these shows. And, really, Sammy, I kind of want to start things off with you. And, you and I are just kind of spitballing right now. We really didn't plan this show out. We didn't outline exactly what we were going to talk about. We just thought we would do kind of a free-flowing, just honest conversation about where we're coming from, what we're doing now, and where we're going. But I'd like to start out and just say, from all these shows that we've done, what are some of your biggest takeaways from from a universal perspective? All these shows together, have they impacted you in any specific way, or how have you grown from some of these episodes that we put together?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways I've taken from every one of our guests so far is that it's a really good reminder that everybody is different. Everybody comes at life with different angles, different experiences, different histories, different backgrounds. And I think that's really helped me in look at, new friends that I might have met, family members, really get outside of myself, I guess you could say, and think about like, okay, what would our buddy Hayes think of this situation? What would Joyce think about this situation? How would Justin, our photographer extraordinaire, like, how does he see this through his lens? Like literally through his lens, what does it look like? So it's given me a lot of that, like, understanding of how other people think, and I pick up on nuances now, I think, better than I have, and that's just through simple conversations that we've had like this, just over the course of Zoom. There's a lot of key takeaways, like specifically, but I think we could talk about those and some of the themes that we picked up over the course. But what about you? What are some of the things that have stuck with you?
Exactly what you said. It's interesting, after having some of these conversations, I find myself thinking about, like, how would Nafis handle this circumstance, or what would Willie's perspective be? And for those of you that are hearing us drop these names, you can go to www.livetpg.com and check out the YouTube show and go back and see these individuals that we've talked about that we're interviewing. But I agree with you, Sammy. Having the opportunity to talk to these people and learning their insights and kind of understanding their lens on how they approach challenges, circumstances, obstacles, and successes has really, I think, inspired and motivated me. But more than anything, I think the biggest takeaway that I've received is that often I can feel like I'm on an island when I'm facing challenges or uncertainty, or I'm feeling like maybe I can't do something. And through the process of these 19 interviews that we've done, it's amazing to hear stories of each one of our guests who have had amazing successes in their own right talk about how there were times where they were overwhelmed, or they were weak, or they didn't know what to do, or they just had to just put their trust in the fact that they're going to keep grinding, or in some cases they just didn't know what to do, and they just kept pushing forward. And I think I've just been reminding myself consistently that whenever I feel like I'm approaching one of those situations that, man, just life seems tough, I remember that I'm not on an island. And something you and I talk about a lot is we're always better together. And I think through each one of these interviews, we've also learned that none of these individuals have approached their life, their challenges, and their accomplishments by themselves. And they've surrounded themselves with people, family, colleagues, friends, loved ones that have helped them every step along the way. And it's just reminded me to seek help and don't ever think that I'm got to do any of this thing alone. And it's just really just been inspiring.
Yeah, inspiration is the key takeaway, or one of the key takeaways too of doing all of this. And I think that's what's been really exciting too, because just like you mentioned, you feel like, there's times where you feel like you might be alone, where you might be going through this and nobody else understands. I get that way too, like, hey, entering new things. I like to think of myself as a trailblazer. Like, I like to go into something brand new, right? I like to try new things. Hell, from food to a different exercise routine to whatever it may be, like entering in a conversation, watching a weird, like just watching like a Japanese television game show just to get like totally different perspective. Like, so sometimes you can feel kind of lost, but then like you may take on a big project, a big assignment, whatever it is. And then you're like, wow, the world's this is too much for me to handle at the moment. But I think about it from some of our different guests. So looking back, like the way Melissa would handle it versus the way Corey would handle it. And so it's just two different ways about going about life. And that's what's so inspiring, is that sometimes you can go in there with a battle axe like Corey Proctor would.
Right.
Sometimes you would go there with harmonious spirit like Melissa would. And both ways are right. Both ways will get the job done. It's just a different flavor. So that inspiration helps me. It's like or arrows in a quiver, like I feel like I can pull a lot of every one of these conversations and apply them to every situation that I'm in. And again, get out of that funk that they can kind of start to cloud when you feel like you're alone or needing some help.
Yeah, I also love that. I really feel like of the 19 guests that we've had on, you clearly see the purpose that each of our guests have in terms of their life, whether it's Kara Brown, who is just so passionate about fitness and triathlons, and she uses that to enhance her personal life and her professional life. And it's really become a foundation to kind of motivate her through her day-to-day life. She's developed a discipline, she's developed processes, she's developed accountability, and all these skill sets that far outreach just the triathlon world, and you see how it's benefited her life. Then you take a guy like, like Eddie Tomaz, that you and I, he's one of our favorite people, and just the way that he views the world in this just easy come, easy go. Just I want to understand the depth underneath the question. I want to take an analytical approach to the different situations that he's getting into. You can just see how he just loves learning, and he just loves people, and it's his passion. And then, I think about like Ken Stibler, who, professional development and coaching people is clearly his passion. And you just see how it just resonates through his life and everything that he does. And it really made me sit back and realize that I think one of the true journeys in terms of the pursuit of growth is to diligently work to understand, what is your passion? and what are you doing to explore it and really make it a priority in your life? And then I'll end this with saying, man, go to the Rock T interview. And if you're looking for a jump start, if you're looking for some motivation with some action, it is impossible to listen to that conversation and not walk away thinking, all right, it's time to really put the pedal to the metal and get excited about life. And I feel like we've gotten that from all of our episodes.
Yeah, I love his saying, "Let's go." Like it's like he's
Right.
just like, "Let's go." I mean, literally from the moment we jumped on the episode with him to the moment we ended, I think that whole episode, amongst many other ones, were just full of impact, wisdom, backgrounds, history. Not to leave anybody out, but like you think about Scott Limebring, a professional baseball player, right? Threw against pitched to Barry Bonds, right? Had a battle with Barry Bonds, right? But it's almost like baseball is secondary. Helping other people in his faith are the keys there, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone has their own flavors, like I mentioned. Everyone has their own styles, but you're right. It's like every single person has that motivating spark, that purpose behind them. And I think one of the biggest themes that I've taken away from all of our guests so far, the one that's just kind of been underlying for me has been mentorship. Like everyone there, and it's kind of touching on what you mentioned there too, like everyone that we've talked to, when we ask them what's been one of the greatest impacts of their life, it's the ability to find or have a mentor, someone to bounce things off of. And I know that we talk about in the book like your board of directors, your personal board of directors, and in your inner circle, right, and your outer circle, right, your different circles. But you've been in my inner circle forever, and I know my personal board of directors. It's easy to bounce things off of. So I hope that the listeners and the people that have picked up on that thread throughout the different interviews, because it's something that if you don't have that yet, then that's something I think that carrying into 2021, you should definitely look to impart in your daily routine, is to try and find someone to ask to be a mentor.
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things that I actually wrote a blog about that, in terms of why you should have a personal board of directors. And, for me, when I examine my life, I realize that I need somebody who can support me through my faith. I need someone who I can turn to for health and wellness advice. I need someone that I can talk to for technology. I need somebody when my my alternator on my car goes out. I need that guy that's the mechanic kind of mindset. I need the person that's just smart at like business, the person that is really good at just talking through emotions, right? And so I think you can look at your life and say, hey, what are the areas that it would benefit me having someone that I can turn to for support advice? And I could keep going on and on and on, but I have at least one person that I feel I can turn to on any single day in any of these important areas. And obviously you're absolutely one of those people, and probably one of the people along with my brother that I turn to the most in terms of just a lot of the challenges that we have in life. And I'm an individual that if you look at the first half of my life, was prideful and embarrassed often to ask for help because I felt like that was a weakness. And now I view that as one of the biggest strengths that I can possibly have, is to surround myself with people who are better than me, that I can consistently learn and grow from. And so it's been a complete reversal of mentality and mindset, and it's been something that served me so well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I just love, I think we talked a little bit about this last night, is about, what are some of those, again, the underlying themes, but man, the conversations that we have, like it's hard to go to bed at night. We typically record these episodes at night. I mean, you can see out my windows here, it's evening time. But man, sometimes it's hard to unwind after a great conversation like that. And it's, we kind of toss around the question, like, why are these so fun? Like, why are they so engaging? What do you, outside of the learning and the growth and development, like, why do you think they're so much fun?
Man, I think one, you and I are both extremely passionate about personal growth and development. And it kind of goes back to the why. Why did we even start doing this? And, not to go into a long story or recap the entire book, which, by the way, shameless plug, if you'd be interested in knowing the history of the book, you can purchase it at www.livetpg.com.
Greg, why don't
You
you
know,
take the book and start on page 1? Let's just
yeah,
start reading.
I can just open up to start reading, right, and just follow along with me at home.
All right.
But you know, to answer your question, you and I both are individuals that probably looking back about a decade ago started dipping our toes and intentionally working to better ourselves, not just talking about it, but actually applying and intentionally working to grow. And when we came up with this pursuit of growth lifestyle and the 11 focus areas and the 11 steps that you can actually use to accomplish goals and develop habits and processes, we started applying it and we saw the radical change that had happened in our lives. And I think people saw it. People told us what they saw. They realized that we were just living our life differently. And I think when you develop something that's a passion, you get excited when you hear other people talk about how similar processes have benefited their lives. And one of the 11 focus areas that we talk about that is so critical in the pursuit of growth is lifelong learning. And this is something that you and I are very kindred spirits about. And that is, we are just drawn to learning. And I will argue there's probably few scenarios that are better than learning from other individuals, especially people that are living their lives in a growth mentality. And I feel like this show, you know, we talk about, we wanted this pursuit of growth, this podcast, the book, the blog, we're doing this because we want to encourage people to take a different direction in their life, to pursue growth and to experience the joy that comes along with it. Because at the end of the day, this world is hard and it produces constant challenges and trials, but it's the mindset and the application of the right way to live our lives that helps us to navigate these waters. So as we're able to learn from these really fascinating individuals of what they've gone through in their lives, where they've struggled, where they've overcome, you're constantly learning tips, takeaways, and actionable items, but you're also being able to relate to people that are going through the same things that you are. And I think for me, it's just feeling like it's this community of people that are focused on living life with a growth mentality. And it just gets me really excited. And my hope is that people that are listening at home, people that are reading our blog, people that are reading our book, you know, it inspires them to say, hey, this is a mindset and a lifestyle that will serve me well if I choose to apply it. And so for me, that's what gets me so excited about this show.
Yeah, it's also that understanding where people have been and where they've come from, to see their own growth as well, to hear their stories of growth. For me, it's again, it's motivating, right? So people like, Rock T, you mentioned, he had the dream all his life to become a radio DJ and a professional baseball player, and the
Yeah.
guy did it. It's like, whew, like, how motivating is that? Same thing with some of the other athletes we've interviewed, Corey Proctor and Scott Linebrink, right? Scott jokingly says that, like, he wouldn't have, I don't even remember how he actually phrased it, but basically, like, you wouldn't pick him first, in all of
Yeah.
that. But he went on to have a great career in multiple teams, playing professional baseball. And Corey Proctor, he's like always done football, like loved football. Then you have someone like Alyssa Spa, where she entered competitive bodybuilding, like had never doing anything before like that, and then
Right.
won her first try. So think about the motivation, like think about that, the motivation, the inspiration, the desire, the passion, the plans, everything that we talk about, that's all outlined in the book. So the feedback again about the book is that it's not necessarily, there's a great personal story laid out by you, and your personal story in it, but then there's also that actionable plan. And that's what we really wanted from this book, is that someone can pick up this book and kind of go through the different chapters and get the repetition and the learning and the understanding of how to go about at least a system that works for us, and then being able to put that kind of action manual together and that plan together and really start to achieve some big things, even if you're starting with that first kind of small step.
Absolutely. And, you talked earlier about one of the underlining themes that really stood out to you over the course of the 19 episodes that we recorded was the mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were talking about that, I was challenging myself to think of some themes that, in addition to that, have really stood out to me. And I wrote down adaptability, resilience, and effort versus laziness. And, I come back to the episode with Jason Simmons, the CEO of Dead Soxy. And, and he admits that one of the things that he struggles with is a little bit of work-life balance. And I loved him being just raw and honest to say that sometimes he's just got to like take a step back. But he also realizes that he has an opportunity right now to do something special. And he sacrifices a lot of things that some people, may be opposed to. He sacrifices going out on Saturday night to just party and do things with his friends, or, watching TV, just killing several hours a night on a weekday, because he's so passionate about his work and really making sure that his company's a success. And then when you hear his approach to how he's actually adapting to COVID-19, adapting to the economy, adapting to a growing business, it's just been inspiring. And then, you listen to someone like Nafis, another business leader, and the way that he navigated this past year in the restaurant industry, which was, among all the industries in our country and around the world, was arguably hit as hard as anybody. And to hear the sacrifices that he had to make, the challenges he had to overcome, I think were just inspiring, and also just helped me to just have more head knowledge in terms of, okay, how can I apply the lessons that he's talking about into my personal life? And then I wanted to touch on Blake Harris. Blake is a financial advisor. He runs an office here in Dallas. We actually interviewed him before COVID-19, but just released his interview 2 weeks before the recording of this particular show. And going back and listening to him and just the knowledge that he has learned in terms of financial advice and how he applies that to his personal and professional life, it just makes me smile, because there's so many opportunities to grow, and that active progress in the key areas of life is just such a motivating and resilient factor that, for me personally, just gets me excited every single day when I walk up. And, I re-listened to his episode last week and immediately sat down and made 4 new financial goals that I can apply to my life a year after listening to and recording the podcast for the first time. And so, again, that's just one of those things that I think about every one of these shows that we've done is based on just the type of show that it is and the subjects that we're talking about. These are things that you can revisit and continue to find new takeaways and new actionable items going to help you to grow.
I think a lot of inspiration has also come like for some of the different things that you've done with the blog post as well, because there's a lot of great content that is pushed out consistently thanks to you via social media, and then also on the blog. So highlighting some different things that you've learned from different people. Like, for instance, I mean, what you learned from Anthony Bourdain, right? And what I've learned from Anthony Bourdain. That was like a very high traction blog where people were really interested in what you learned from there. But so talk a little bit about the blog and the inspiration, some of the highlights behind that.
Yeah, we know where the blog actually originated from. And I'm not sure, Sammy, if you even remember this, excuse me, but we had a conversation maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And you and I have a thing that we do, and we encourage people to have accountability partners. And that is, when you have, tons of goals that you're looking to accomplish throughout the course of a year or through your life, the really big ones that are going to require some effort, you want to share those with people and develop a plan with how they can help you to succeed in those goals, and develop a plan on how they can help to hold you accountable in addition to yourself. And I was sharing some of my goals with you. And again, this is probably 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And you actually challenged me on something. You said, Greg, you've got some great goals in place here, but I don't see any goals that are in the area of creativity. He's like, and you're a creative guy. You like to play music. You like to do this. You like to do that, but you don't have a creative goal. And that really made me think of something. And I don't know, maybe it was a couple of weeks later, I thought, you know what? Maybe I should start a blog. And that can be an avenue for me just to write about things that I'm passionate about, things that I'm interested in, things that have, I guess, touched me, or just things I want to learn and then share with other people. And then the funny thing is, through that conversation, then you challenged me to write a book. And so that's where the Pursuit of Growth book came from. And once we finished the book together and we published the book, and we started talking about, hey, we should have an opportunity to really build like a media website that focuses on personal and professional growth. that would highlight the book. We could start a podcast. We could get a blog going, and we could start doing workshops and coaching and some of the different scenarios, public speaking on what we've learned. And so for me, the blog has really been my creative outlet. It's been something that it's all based in the pursuit of growth, which really opens up to just about anything from professional learning to emotional intelligence, to hobbies and experiences, to things and people that inspire us. And for me, if it's a subject that I happen to come across, I'm like, man, I'm really interested in learning more about that. I'll write it down on my list and say, okay, I'm going to write a blog about learning how to be more adaptable, or learning how to have thicker skin, or learning how to be better at influencing other people the right way. I'll spend a couple weeks learning, researching, putting my own 2 cents into that, and then ultimately coming up with a blog that you can typically read in a minute or two and publish it out there to share my results with the audience. And I can tell you, it's been one of, I think, the biggest personal growth experiences of my journey over the past year and a half, is really consistently doing this every single week. And so it's been a joy. It's been a challenge some weeks. Some blogs I think are probably better than others. Some I kind of ask myself, did I rush that one a little bit too much? But at the end of the day, I'm proud of every single one of them. And so I'm excited to continue to put them out there for more people to read. And hopefully each one of these blogs, the goal is that there's actionable items that people can take away and simply incorporate into their life to hopefully start getting a little bit, a little bit of growth, a little bit of life hacks, just to make your life go a little bit easier, or hey, make it a little bit more purposeful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different, like some of the favorite posts that are out there. Something I learned about a long time ago is binaural beats. And it was exciting to me because you and I had never even talked about that before. And then we were highlighting, like we do the night before a podcast, we were talking about binaural, you had mentioned like, hey, the blog that's coming out is on binaural beats. Like, whoa, like I didn't know you knew anything about those. And so again, it was energizing to me to know that you had kind of started to learn about this. So I got to tell you what I knew about them, and you got to tell me what you knew about them. Then it got me going on Spotify, and I have a whole playlist now and all kinds of stuff. So again, like I hadn't even thought about those, and it's so long, and I think that's what I hope that the readers get out of that too, is like maybe there's opportunities there that sparks some interest, maybe not just on that subject, but maybe on like exploring new subjects, exploring more creativity. I live in the creative world, and I'm a very two-brained person, or I guess two-sided brain person. So creativity and then the really rigid logistical side of things. But man, my background as a creative, that's the struggle. You have the creative struggle, just like you mentioned, like, did I spend enough time on that, or did I overspend too much time on that? Welcome to the land of the creatives. And we never know when we're done or if it's done, and if anyone's going to like it or not, but you do it for the right purpose, right? You do it to put it out there because it brings you joy, it brings you happiness, it allows you to learn and grow, which I know is something that ultimately what we're all about. And so I know I've been inspired by it. So I would say keep up the good work, man. It's some good stuff. And I'm making a promise to you that I'm going to start writing some more of these things too. I want to get on that author list of blogs, and you'll see my name by some soon.
Yeah, I love it. And it's interesting because, again, I want to work towards excellence, not perfection. And I actually listened to a speaker, several years ago that talked about writing a book and writing a blog. And he actually mentioned that, I put this book out, and immediately I started getting criticism because you misspelled a word here, and your punctuation isn't right here, and this paragraph should have been indented here. And he said, I don't care. He goes, my goal wasn't to make you proud of my grammar. My goal was to share my message and to actually put out this book. And now I'm moving on to the next thing. And I'm working here, working there, working there. And he said, ultimately, I get where you're coming from. You need to work towards excellence, and you want to learn to get better, to grow. So I appreciate your feedback, but I'm not going to be overwhelmed with guilt that I didn't make it 100% right. I'm more worried about, is the information that I'm putting out helping people? And that was his purpose. And he said, if you're reading my book to criticize me, then you're probably not going to get anything out of my book in the first place. If you're reading my book to learn how you can grow and learn, that's where I really want to be. And so that inspired me to give myself a little bit of grace. Now, at the same time, that being said, I do want to make sure that I'm proofing things. I do want to make sure that these blogs and the information we're putting out are tight and clean, and I'm getting better at it. But it's helped me not to be so hard on myself. Um, After I release information, and I might see, oh man, I've got a grammatical mistake there. I didn't indent here. And so that's been a good takeaway for me. And you know what? There might be some different perspective on that, and that's fine. One of my blogs is on blind spots. So what are the things that you're missing in your life that you need other people telling you? So that is where constructive criticism can be a really, really good thing. Hey, Greg, you're writing these blogs, but you're really missing out on a key opportunity to do A, B, and C. Well, those are great things to hear, get a couple key takeaways, and then get better. And the whole point of what we're doing, grow and make what the work we're doing more impactful. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I wanted to also comment real quick on the binaural beats. And it was actually, I learned about the beats from a Visage speaker that we had that was talking about focus, anxiety, and sleep. And she mentioned it in passing. And it caught my attention, and I wrote it down, binaural beats. I didn't even know what it meant. And I Googled it to see what it was, and I was shocked to learn that like there's different frequencies that you can listen to music, and it can help to alter your state of mind. And so I actually learned the frequency for focus and found on Spotify playlists that were tuned to that frequency. And I went to one of the loudest, noisiest, most frustrating coffee shops in uptown Dallas and sat in the middle of everything, put on some headphones, put that list on of binaural beats, and I wrote that blog to see if I could focus and be in the zone. And again, that's just one test. It's my sample size is not scientific, but it was awesome. And literally every day in my office, I've got a certain time frame where I throw those beats on when I know I really need to focus and I really need to get like tuned into my work. And whether it's placebo and I've programmed my mind to think that way, or if it actually really does it, the bottom line is it works. And so it's been a huge blessing for me in my work and what I do.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I had to revisit it, and I was like, oh, I forgot about these things. Like, so one of the great things about having this mindset of growth and learning is that, and there's sometimes you put some good stuff in, and sometimes your cup overflows with goodness, and some things drop out, but you find them again a little bit later on. So that's the cool thing, is that you bring those back out were really cool, because again, I made that playlist as well. Got some focus and some energy or something like that, like you said, placebo or not, it seems to work, and I'll take it for what it's worth. But from a blog perspective, I know one of the things we're looking to do here in the future is that we want this community. It's something that we've wanted to build from the very start, is a community surrounding learning, personal development, and growth, and the opportunity for people to then also kind of quote unquote take the stage along with us, because it's not about us. This is a framework that's been developed that just happens to work for two ordinary average guys. But people that have their head in the right mindset, the right framework, and hopefully other people can join along as well. So we're really looking to grow this community. We want other people to take part in this. If you have a blog post you want to write, like, we would love to have some guest writers. Continuing to grow the show, not only from a like and subscribe, PS, make sure you like and subscribe, but from that type of community growth, but then also just in a community of people that are liking and sharing individual mindsets and growth patterns with everyone else that they know of as well. And so as we continue this, looking towards the future, I want to make sure that people know, like, this isn't just about a book, right? This isn't just about a show, or this isn't about a blog. Those are all pieces to the bigger picture. The bigger picture is building a community of like-minded individuals who are focused on personal growth and development, and are looking at an actionable plan to do that. And I think also while helping others do the same. And so that's where I'm really looking to expand in 2021, is that again, the world was weird last year. That's just the best way to put it. 2020 was just a weird year. Everyone did what they needed to do to not only survive, but thrive. Now we're in 2021, things are opening back up. There's more opportunities for people to get together. And I think that's the power of what we're doing, is that we're going to be able to connect more people with not only what we know, but connect with more people with what other people know as well. And I'm looking at this as an explosion that's about to happen with TPG. So I'm really excited and motivated about these next, the rest of this year and on to the future.
Absolutely. And you know what, you and I have put a lot of work in over the last, 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And we understand the benefits of the mindset, the benefits of the actionable plan. Because, we talk a lot about inspiration and motivation, and those are awesome things, but they fizzle away and they disappear if you don't have the right framework with the right habits, the right goals, the right processes to take inspiration to active progress, to ultimate achievement, and then figure out where to go next. And so we've developed that. And I'm not ashamed to say that we're really good at it. And I feel like we're experts in being able to show people how you can put this together in your life. And so I'm really excited to be able to share more of this with people of all walks of life. And whatever stage of development they're in, this will help you along your way towards the goals that you want to accomplish in your life. There's no one size fits all. Everyone's got different interests and different goals, different passions, different purposes. But this universally will apply to excel and benefit anyone that applies it. And what I'm really excited about, Sammy, is exactly what you just mentioned, is this isn't about you and me. And there's a reason why when you see our logo on places, you go to our social media, you don't always see our faces. You see the pursuit of growth. And we want to get more people writing blogs for us. We want to get more people that are engaged in helping other people. We want people sharing their triumphs. We want people sharing their goals. We want people encouraging each other. We want people sharing their failures and being like, man, here was a goal that I went after and I fell on my face. And this is what I learned. Or this is a goal that I'm going after and I failed. Help. I need help, right? And so I just envision this media that grows around this commitment to personal, professional, spiritual, physical, and emotional development it's this tribe that's just committed to helping people. And you and I talk about this, the more you choose to love and serve people, you realize it's the most selfish thing you can do, because the feeling you get in return from being a part of helping other people is like a shot of dopamine. I mean, it's like endorphins, it's like a natural drug high. And if we could get more people experiencing that, just imagine the ripple effects we can make on our community and our country, our world, and really just kind of share this message of what the pursuit of growth is all about. And so I feel like we're on the precipice of really taking this to the next level, but you and I aren't going to do it. I mean, it's going to have to be the collective group of people that we put around ourselves and let their skills and expertise and passions and purpose take this to the next level. We've just got to share the message.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone could have said it any better than that. I mean, it's so true, and I'm so looking forward to this.
I rehearsed that for about an hour before we jumped on here today.
Did you read the email that I sent you that had it all listed out just exactly that way?
Yeah, it's actually written on my mirror in my bathroom, and I went over it like 3 or 4 times this morning, and then just before we came on here. Yeah. Did I rush it? I feel like I rushed it a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit?
Hey,
okay.
But you'll grow from it, right?
I'll get better.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I'm looking forward to it this year. It's been great. The episodes have been great. We've got some good ones coming up soon as well. We've covered a lot of ground with a lot of people that we know, but we're starting to also bring in some people that have a little bit bigger audiences as well, which is exciting. Not to say that an audience of one isn't enough, but there's some really unique people I think on the horizon that I think everyone that has watched the show is really gonna find some joy and some really good learnings out of it as well. So kind of again taking it back to the show, but overall the pursuit of growth, I think that like you mentioned, it's just starting to sprout, and I'm really excited about this next phase of the journey.
Well, Sammy, I love to ask people questions, and typically, if you know me, you know that I like questions and answers that have to do with 3. So if you could give me 3 dream guests you would like to have on the Pursuit of Growth show, what three come to the top of your mind?
So I'm going to give you the three that are alive,
Okay.
just because if we put it out there in a non-woo-woo fashion, but hey, if we make it a goal, we're going to achieve it. So
That's
I'm
true.
going
I
to
mean, technically, we probably can't have Jesus and Abraham Lincoln and gosh, I don't know.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
we're not gonna be able to get them on the show. But
Probably not, right?
of people that are alive, who are the three you'd like to have on the show?
Yeah, so there's, the people that some of the people that have been the biggest inspiration to me have since passed to the next plane. But I think someone that's really been a big part of my life is Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny to say, right? Comedian, cage fighting commentator, podcaster, all things, he's a man of many thoughts and much wisdom and lots of friends. So he's been inspirational to me in learning, about a little bit more about my craft. So I'd love to talk to him to have this kind of same conversation. What has he learned,
Mm-hmm.
and how did he go about learning this? How did he go about doing this? So he's one. The second one, that comes to mind is I'd love to talk to Cal Ripken Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of my inspirations all growing up. He's the Iron Man. He broke Lou Gehrig's record. He surpassed it. It's someone that I've always looked up to from a standpoint of like how he went about hard work, dedication, a little bit of luck, and then also just showed up every single day and gave it his best. And so that he's another person that I've always wanted to talk to. And so if we can get him on the show, that would be great. And then the third one, which is always the most challenging because there's so many different people
Right.
that you can talk to. So we didn't rehearse this either. So the third one's going to be hard. But I'd really like to talk to somebody who has devoted their life to understanding how best to help people. And not from a standpoint of like a consultant or not necessarily like a nonprofit lead or anything. We've got nonprofit background. I mean, you're still a nonprofit. I've been in the nonprofit world for a long time, so not in that standpoint, but somebody who's like literally like almost like a Mother Teresa, or someone who's given up everything, for just that, just helping people. So I don't know who that would be. I'm sure there's a lot of great candidates, but I would love to find someone who really inspires me in that arena, because that's one of my passions. Is you did me the honor of writing a blog about one of my favorite habits of saying, how can I help when I leave any conversation? So I'd like to pursue what that and other people and find out someone who I could talk to about that. So I don't know who that would be. Open to suggestions.
Yeah, I think that would be that's a good maybe request out to our audience. If there's individuals that you can think of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of match that description of what you're talking about, send them our way, because those would be really interesting people to reach out to and see if we can't learn about them and then connect and get them on the show.
And I've got a list of about like 1,500 other people that I'd like to talk to. So, but if I had to, be put on the spot and say the top three, those would be my top three. Matthew McConaughey would fall probably number 4 there. So I'd like to get him.
Well, that's good because he's on my list.
Okay, all right, Greg. 3.
So my 3 would love to have Matthew McConaughey, just because he's a guy that I've always just thought is really cool. He's a native Texan. I like the way that that he lives his life. I like the way that he approaches, mindset and mental health. He wrote a book called Green Lights that I got the biggest kick out of reading. And
I actually just recommended that book to the audiobook. I think the audiobook is, I don't think you can read it yourself first. I think you need to listen to the audiobook first, and then you can buy the book, because it is worth buying after listening to it. But you got to hear his voice as he reads it out.
All right. I mean, if I could have somebody audio record our book, I would have picked Matthew McConaughey. But now that he's done his own book, I've got to find Morgan Freeman, I think, to do ours.
I did say there's somebody, and people can look him up. I'm sorry, I'm derailing you here, but there's there is a guy who I just thought has that. It's going to sound very strange, but like that real caramelly style voice. It's just smooth. It just has a good flavor to it. It's nice on the eardrums. Freddie Coleman. He's on ESPN, and he used to coming home late nights from work and stuff like that. He would always be on ESPN, and he and I would chat on Twitter. And I told him, I was like, hey Freddie, is like, if I ever wrote a book, I would love for you to narrate it. So I'll challenge you to go find some Freddie Coleman
All
so you
right,
can hear what his voice sounds like.
man, that just sounds like a jazz blues artist. Freddie Coleman. That's a heck of a handle. The second person that I thought of, and again, these my top three are just the first three that I thought of when I asked you the question, right?
Sure.
But I thought an interesting person to talk to would be Prince Harry. And one of the reasons why I say that is because he's so big into mental health, and he's really really dedicated his life to being able to help organizations and really draw attention to mental health, around the world. And you talk about someone who leads with a servant heart. He's really devoted his life to a lot of different charitable causes. I think he'd be a fascinating person to talk to. And the third one is actually a guy named Jonathan Pokluda, who's a preacher that used to preach here in Dallas, and he's since moved to Waco, and he's head of a church there. But he's a guy about our age, Sammy. And I think from what I know of him, I've never met him, never had a conversation with him, but from his sermons and his conversations, he's experienced a very similar life that you and I did of, for a lot of his early adult years, really living his life focused in the wrong direction without the right anchors, and ultimately kind of had a revival and a change of mindset, and really his faith led him in a different direction. And now he's a dynamic and inspiring and passionate preacher who is a person that I turn to quite often to listen to just during the week. And so I think he would be a fascinating person to talk to. But I'm like you, man. I've got 1,500 to 2,000 people that I'd like to talk to, and quite honestly, 1,500 of those people of the 2,000, are not celebrities,
Right.
are not household names. They're everyday people that are living fascinating lives. And the point that I want to make with that is we live in a culture that takes, no offense, Mcconaughey, but takes movie stars, athletes, entertainers, or nowadays YouTube stars, and elevates them to this pinnacle that we should aspire to be like them. Yet we forget about the community leaders, the teachers, the doctors, the policemen, the firemen, the everyday people that are living in our community, that are living lives that are astonishing, inspirational, and actually living in ways that we can learn and grow that are going to do our lives better, as opposed to just thinking that somebody who has name recognition, that quite honestly may be living their life in all the wrong directions, and in 5 to 10 years blows up, and then they're the latest magazine cover of celebrity gone wrong. And so really changing that mindset, the people we should be looking up to and aspiring to be aren't people that we're going to find on TV or in a magazine, the people that we're going to find down the street and literally living in the same circles that we're living, and elevating their platforms so that we can learn and grow from those folks.
Yeah, and anyone that inspires anyone that watches this, I think send them our way. I think we've got a lot of ground to cover. Even personal friends, we've had the opportunity to get to know quite a few people, and again, more non-celebrity than celebrity for sure. So I think there's a lot that can be learned by people that are starting in their struggle, beyond their struggle, and people that have figured out their own way. Would love to just continue learning and connecting with those people as well.
Man, I agree. Well, man, as we're starting to kind of wrap up our conversation today, Sammy, usually we end the show when we interview our guests with 3 takeaways. So we've actually talked a lot about takeaways that we've had from the guests that we've had on the show, but I'm curious, what are your three takeaways, perhaps since we've started the pursuit of growth? Are there three things that maybe have impacted your life or have helped you personally, professionally, spiritually, health and wellness, you name it? What are three things that have resonated with you in the past several years?
You know, I think it's reconnecting with, not only reconnecting, but also connecting with individuals who I find fascinating. I've made it just a habit of getting back in touch with a lot of people that I haven't spoken to in a long time, reconnecting with friends, family. And then when I meet someone new, just kind of digging in as well. I work with new people, so learning more about what inspires them, motivates them, what they're passionate about. So that's been one of the biggest things. Number two is continue to understand that it's a process, and right, I'm not a finished product by any means. So continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to ask for help. And then last is, I think one of the biggest key takeaways is that I don't seek recognition for helping other people, but I crave helping other people. It's something that I really enjoy. It's I think where I can get better is, especially like with my kids, like understanding they're going through their own journeys, right? So they have a lot of questions. They have a lot of support that they need as well. And so asking them, how can I help them even more? It's going to be a key takeaway that I'm going to continue to work on, because all the parents out there will know it can be frustrating. It can be hard. Fuses get short, and you try your very, very best. But I think it's something that we need to continue to work on. Myself, I know, is to be there to support. Not that I don't, but be there to support and grow and help guide my kids. And one of the things that one of our guests had mentioned, Hayes, he spoke a lot about gratitude, especially in the fact with kids. And I've talked about this on the show, and I've talked about this amongst other people. I've always asked my kids four things. Or I've asked them to repeat four things to me every single morning before they go to school or daycare. It's be kind, be helpful, be brave, and be smart. Those are the four things that I want them to do every single day. So those are 4 words that I want them to remember: be kind, be brave, be helpful, and be smart. The 5th one, though, I added because of Hayes, and I've done it ever since now. So now we have 5 words: be kind, be helpful, be brave, be smart, and be grateful, every single time. So continue to pick up little things like that I can pass on to my kids. I think it's going to be key, but also remembering those 5 for myself as well. But yeah. So what about you, Greg?
You mentioned gratitude, and the greatest way to improve your attitude is by consistently focusing on gratitude. And so that's a part of my life. Every day, I make sure to share 3 things I'm grateful for at minimum. I actually wrote a blog about going on gratitude walks, where I simply focus the entire 30 to 45-minute walk of just going through things that I'm grateful for in life. It's amazing how that's influenced my life and changed my mindset. And I think along with that is perspective, and realizing that everybody's in a different world. Everybody's dealing with different circumstances and variables. And it's helpful for me to realize that if I can keep perspective and understanding that I should be slow to judge and slow to anger and be curious, be helpful. Those 5 things that you said to your kids apply to me as well. And it's just keeping that perspective and just making sure that I remind myself there's nothing cooler than remaining cool in a tough situation. So all those things kind of come together on mindset. And so that's a big takeaway for me. Another is asking questions. And that kind of goes into don't ever think you know it all, because I believe the minute you think you know it all, you're lost, and you've truly lost. And so it's easy for me to jump to suggestions or advice or, hey, this is what you should do, as opposed to stopping and saying, let's just ask questions and learn a little bit more. And oftentimes by doing that, the individual that you think you want to give advice to ultimately ends up solving their issues without you even having to share advice. Just by talking things out and listening offers so much help and really just, I think, again, it kind of goes back to perspective a little bit as well. It just opens up the playing field to where people realize that everything's not so siloed, but there's a lot of variables, there's a lot of gray area in the challenges and trials that we face in life. And so asking questions and asking good questions just is such an advantageous part of relationships and conversations that we have. And then the third thing for me is just something that I write every single day on my legal pad with all my tasks and daily goals. It just says live TPG, live the pursuit of growth. And that means every day, how am I growing in my faith, my character, my attitude, my confidence, my health, my lifelong learning, my love and service, my financial literacy, my hobbies and experiences. You know, what are the things that I'm doing to continually grow this lifestyle that you and I have been so passionate about? And it's just a daily reminder to just live life on purpose. So I think those are my three takeaways as we wrap up this show.
I think something that you said there resonated with me very well, because I need to get better about asking questions, because I would have asked you, do these earphones make my ears look weird? I mean, they're big red things that have been hanging out on my ears this whole time. So I just thought, I just now noticed that because I got the ears things going.
Well, I think we live in a culture where white or black earphones tend to be the norm. So I wouldn't be surprised if people watching this show are probably just thinking, man, Sammy must be really hot because
Right.
his ears are like super red right now. But hey, at the end of the day, if they're working for you, man, live it up.
I just realized that because I had my screen covered where I couldn't see my face, and I moved something, and sure enough, there I am with big red monkey ears.
Yeah, you got some red ears going, man. But hey, you may be starting a new trend.
New trend.
You know, there may be people all around this world going, you know what? If that guy's brave enough to go out and buy some colored earphones, maybe I should too.
Yeah. You know what? If we start seeing a trend, it's going to all come back to me. So, portion of the proceeds should come back to the LiveTPG show.
Absolutely. We can use it, folks.
Right.
www.livetpg.com.
That note, I think we can get to wrapping this up for a lot of people. But yeah, something you should do. And we ask you, if you find that any of that, what we were just talking about, would be beneficial and helpful to you, check out the book, The Pursuit of Growth. You can find this on our website. Coming soon, we're going to talk about releasing a PDF of this version for the people that read it online, and then also audiobook. If we can get maybe Freddie Coleman, maybe Matthew McConaughey, you never know. Whoever it may be, you know, we'll find someone. If not, you know, just kind of be us droning on and on about it too. But go to our website, check out the Pursuit of Growth book. You can check out our LiveTPG show. It's linked to our YouTube page where all these are housed. All of our social media channels, pretty much LiveTPG on any social media channel, or you can search the Pursuit of Growth. And we're really asking people now to like, subscribe, share, follow, you know, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell, and get all those notifications, you know, like all the YouTubers say. But we would love for you to continue growing this community of people and getting back out there and connecting with more people. So if you need help with anything, if you need support, if you have questions, if you want to be on the show, if you want to be a guest writer, reach out to us. You can connect with us any way you can. But again, we're here to help, happy to help, and looking forward to meeting each and every one of you, if we haven't met you yet, soon out there on the open road.
Love it. With that, LiveTPG. Peace.